What's up, historians? I'm Smith McNeill, and this is Echoes of Freedom. Together, we'll travel to America's most iconic places, uncover hidden stories, and bring the past to life. From the voices of everyday heroes to the legends we thought we knew, we'll listen to the echoes of freedom that shaped our nation. So get ready to explore, learn, and celebrate American history, one story at a time. What's up, historians? Today we're standing on the ground where one of the most brilliant battlefield maneuvers in American history plays out. Welcome to Cowpens. This is in South Carolina, where on January 17th of 1781, Patriot forces under General Daniel Morgan outsmarted, outfought, and outmaneuvered the British in a decisive Revolutionary War victory for what would become the United States. Today, we're standing in front of the Washington Light Infantry Monument, and it commemorates a pivotal role of Colonel William Washington's cavalry in the American victory here at the Battle of Cowpens. This striking monument stands as a tribute to the bold and decisive charge that helped encircle the British, trap Tarleton's forces, and deliver a devastating blow to the English or British morale. Now, just to kind of give you some insight on where we are just off of the main trail. There's a main trail that kind of goes from the visitor center up to the main area of the battlefield. And I'm looking just over my right-hand shoulder here, and maybe 400 or 500 yards out, I can kind of see the opening in the clearing where the main battle took place. But this is kind of the wooded area where our U.S. forces would have been encamped, and it's in these areas that they launched their attacks on the British armies. Now, let's set the stage. The American South was in turmoil. After the fall of Charleston and the brutal defeat at Camden, the British believed that they were gaining the upper hand. General Charles Cornwallis hoped to sweep through the Carolinas, crush the rebellion's backcountry supports, and roll right up into Virginia. But standing in their path was a force of patriots under Brigadier General Daniel Morgan. Now that name's important, and you'll hear that more as we do more content and cover more of the Revolutionary War here on Echoes of Freedom. Morgan is a tough, seasoned frontiersman who knew how to read both the land and the enemy. Cornwallis, frustrated by Morgan's movements, dispatched his aggressive and overconfident cavalry commander, Lieutenant Colonel Barnstair Tarleton. That's a tongue twister. Let's say that 5 times fast. Barnstair Tarleton. And Tarleton was ordered to hunt down Morgan. Now, Tarleton was infamous nicknamed the Butcher by Americans for his harsh treatment of prisoners, especially after the Battle of Waxhaws, where his men slaughtered surrendering troops. One patriot, in fact, wrote, and I quote, "Tarleton gave no quarter and sought none. His approach was feared as his fury." Morgan, however, did not plan to run. He knew they were coming, and we're in this small farm. If you come to the area, all that's around here is farm country. So we're in this small farm country, and there's no major patriot army around to support Morgan. And so what we're going to see is Morgan goes out. You know what? I'm going to save that because it's going to get really juicy here in just a moment. And I'm going to do it now anyway. Morgan's going to go out and he's going to invite all the farmers in the area. He's going to say, "The British are coming. Get your guns. Come meet me here at Cowpens. We're going to set up and we're going to hold them back." And that's exactly what happens. He didn't plan to run. He picked this battlefield wisely. He picked this area in particular. Open pasture, land backed. It was open pasture with land backed by woods and a small river. So as I said, just over there is the open field where there's nothing there. And we're in this wooded area. And then just down the road here, we've got the river. It's ideal for deploying troops in waves and boxing Tarleton in. Sorry, my geographical brain. Okay, guys, Pause. Quick context. I've been right before filming this video, the night before, I had to DJ, and I'm getting way off topic of history, but this is fun. This is Echoes of Freedom for you, uncut, unfiltered. This is how we are. I had a wedding event last night, and so it was like after 1 a.m. before I got home. I had to be up at 6 a.m. to go do some work at a church and do some production, and I've been on the road for 3 hours today of driving after that to finally make it to this point here on the battlefield. And so I'm a little bit tired. My brain's not working, but it's all right. We're going to try to get through this. So where were we in the story? Let's see. Oh, yeah. I was talking about geographically. I stand corrected. We've got the woods on this side. In the middle is the field. On the other side is the river. So it just kind of boxes Tarleton into a place he does not want to be. This place was called Cowpens, where local herdsmen once grazed cattle, but after this day it would be remembered for blood, bayonets, and battlefield masterpiece. So let's look at the battle plan. Morgan organized his men into 3 lines. His front line were the sharpshooters and skirmishers, mainly riflemen from Georgia and the Carolinas, tasked with firing 2 deadly volleys and then retreating. Matter of fact, just within eyesight, probably 50 yards from where I'm standing, is a monument marking where this front line stood here in the woods to fire their 2 volleys before they were done. This is how he got the farmers to come out. He's like, all right, listen, you come out, take 2 shots, and go home. You're done. That's all they had to do. His second line was militia under Andrew Pickens, who would also do the same and then fall back. And then finally, the third line was the backbone of Morgan's force, the Continental Army regulars from Maryland and Delaware, commanded by John Edgar Howard, who held in reserve to absorb the final push and counterattack. Now it's going to take place just down the road from here, kind of in this wooded area, where they're going to wind up holding back the British troops as they start swarming in and overtaking this area. Now, Morgan wanted Tarleton to charge headlong, believing the Americans were fleeing, and that's exactly what's going to happen. He used the militia's reputation for retreating as a tactical asset, as Morgan later explained. And I quote, in the words of Morgan, he says, "I had the utmost confidence in the courage and conduct of the militia. They behaved like men who were determined to be free." So let's get into the battle. Let's get into the juicy stuff now. At sunrise, Tarleton's forces, numbering about 1,100, attacked in full force, and it's going to come over my right shoulder. So they're going to come sweeping in, going from the left side of your screen here over to the right. All right? So as they approach, I think that's the left and right. Anyway, going from this side of the screen to this side of the screen. As they approached the first line, American riflemen opened fire with deadly precision, dropping officers and disrupting formations. And let me tell you this. All right, so the British really hated the Americans, and here's why. During this time, it was unsporting, per se, as the British would say, to shoot officers. You shoot the infantry, you shoot the militia, you shoot those guys, but you don't shoot officers. The Americans, on the other hand, we pretty much invented what's going to lead up to modern warfare. All the way through history, you can see Americans kind of on the front lines of making what becomes modern warfare. After Napoleon, it would go to America. The Americans are like, why would I shoot the infantry? If I shoot the officer, then the infantry doesn't know what to do, and it confuses them, and we win. So Americans start shooting at the British officers, and it really makes the British upset, because they're like, why are you shooting our officers? It's very unsporting, and it's not manly, as for lack of better words. Then, so as I said, the Americans opened fire with deadly precision. They dropped officers and disrupted all kinds of formations. And then, just as they were ordered, after their 2 shots, the riflemen and militia fell back, appearing to rout or retreat, and the British took the bait. They dove right in after. Tarleton's men advanced rapidly, too rapidly. Believing that victory was near, they ran straight into the waiting Continentals, who unleashed disciplined volleys at close range, and the British began to falter, but they pressed on. Sorry, there are flies everywhere. Like I said, we're in the middle of a field, and so we're just dealing with nature as it comes up. At that critical moment, as the British surged, Colonel Howard issued a brilliant battlefield order. He says, "Face about, fire, then charge bayonets." And the American line wheeled and counterattacked with bayonets, catching the British completely off guard. At the same time, William Washington, cousin of George Washington, led a daring cavalry strike on the British rear from this point here. This is the William Washington Infantry Light. All right? So that's William Washington. And when he did this, the redcoats were completely surrounded. This rare tactical maneuver, called a double envelopment, has only been successfully executed a few times in military history, most famously by Hannibal at Cannae. And Morgan pulled this off flawlessly with militia and part-time soldiers. So as the smoke clears up, the results were staggering. Over 900 British troops killed, wounded, or captured. Tarleton's elite forces effectively destroyed by farmers and your everyday citizens. Nobody, not professional soldiers. And the American losses overall were fewer than 100. Let's put that in perspective. Over 900 British troops killed, captured, or wounded here at this battle, and less than 100 Americans became casualties. So in the aftermath, Morgan later wrote to General Greene, "Our success was complete and glorious. The enemy entirely routed and gave us an opportunity of pursuing them with vigor. Tarleton, wounded and humiliated at this, escaped with just a handful of men, and Cornwallis was stunned." One British officer wrote, "We believed them broken, but we were undone." More importantly, this victory shattered British confidence and slowed Cornwallis' southern campaign. He was then forced to regroup and pursue Greene north into North Carolina, leading to the bloody standoff at Guilford Courthouse. And we have an episode on Guilford Courthouse coming up very, very soon, so stay tuned on the channel to get the Guilford Courthouse episode. And then eventually this will lead to Yorktown, where the British surrendered later that year. British historian Sir Bannister Tarleton, yes, he later became a historian himself, admitted, "I received a severe lesson in the art of American warfare." So the Battle of Cowpens wasn't just a field win, it was a turning point in strategy, morale, and momentum. It proved the American militia could stand, that Patriot leaders like Morgan were tactically brilliant, and that the South was far from lost. So remember, you don't need overwhelming numbers to win. You need bold leadership, smart planning, and then you will stand firm. And you need the will to stand firm. So that's the lesson of Cowpens. Guys, this is an absolute beautiful sight. I will try to, if I can remember in the editing, put some videos in, kind of showing around the field and stuff. I'm going to walk up a little more ways. But I'll try to put some pictures and some video in to show on the video. If you ever get the chance, this is Cowpens in South Carolina. It's really easy. Punch in GPS, Cowpens, South Carolina. You're going to come straight to the battlefield. Beautiful walking trails. It's very well upkept, very well done. I encourage you to come check it out for yourself to learn more about the echoes of freedom that occurred right on these very grounds in 1771. We will see you in the next episode.